Hello, how's it going? Welcome back. Today's webinar is the last and bonus webinar in a series called the 5-Week Body Language Mastery course. This is the 6th week, of course, and we're going over a very special bonus chapter or concept today that I had not revealed to anybody. Ironically, I got more people registering for this one than any other one when I revealed it, so I'm going to stop telling you guys what I'm teaching you from now on. I'm Josh Pellicer here. I have a couple people in the studio right now. Josh and Brad are here just hanging out as well. They're going to be joining in toward the tail end. This bonus webinar is based more around Q&A toward the end, so I'm going to have a pretty long Q&A. So if you do have any questions, not just about body language, but about anything, but preferably about body language since this whole course is on that, anything since the very beginning that you may have sort of a hole in, or any experience that you had recently that you would like to sort of flesh out and get my input on, then you can go ahead and write that down now. And when it comes time, I will unmute you and we will chat and talk, and everyone will hear that, which is nice. Or you can write a question down and send it to me, and I'll answer it in a bit. So again, I'm Joshua Pellicer. I hope you know that by now. And this is the last of the 5-week Body Language Mastery course. So far, and again, like I said, this is going to be a little bit shorter than the past webinars. I don't expect it to go more than an hour. But if we get enough Q&A, then it may go a little longer. I'm totally open. I don't have a whole lot scheduled for the evening, so I'm totally cool with hanging out and answering more questions to everybody. As long as we have questions, I'm cool to be here and talk about it. So let's just kind of go over a little bit of what we talked about before already in the course. And we're going over what are called the 5 pillars of sex appeal. 5 pillars of sex appeal. Up until today, there was only 5, and then today I'm going to reveal the 6th pillar of sex appeal. It's sort of the unspoken pillar, or the hidden pillar that I don't talk about a whole lot, and not a lot of people do talk about, but it holds some of the most powerful sort of connections and sort of loopholes that you can jump through in order to speed straight over to the seduction phase with the woman and really get her heart pounding really early on. So, and this is, I talked a little bit about advanced concepts in the psychological space webinar, where I talked about how to skip stages in the map of interaction and go straight to seduction or go straight to rapport. And it was very powerful and it was very advanced. And today we're going to learn something else that's going to help a whole lot as well. And it is very advanced too. But it'll be good. I'll be able to demonstrate it. And I think it'll be very, very beneficial to everyone. I know whenever I learned this concept for the first time, the sixth pillar of sex appeal, the concept that I'm going to be covering today, it completely changed my ability to be able to speed straight into where I wanted to be in an interaction. I had a lot more control. So I'm looking forward to revealing that to you guys. So the first, as you remember, is eye contact. Whenever we went over eye contact, one of the most powerful concepts here is that you deliver a lot of your own personal emotion through eye contact. So if you can control what's going through your head at that moment, you can project that to someone else. It's not so much trying to be dominant, though dominance is part of eye contact, and definitely not at all about being domineering, which is about trying to be too controlling or controlling an interaction. It's more about revealing who you are to someone, which creates powerful trust and rapport. And using powerful eye contact and good eye contact through the techniques that I taught you in the eye contact webinar, on the eye contact course, is going to help you get attention a lot faster from people, but also get women to feel that sort of butterflies in their stomach effect, which women can't deny. I want to go into a little bit more about why body language is so important and sort of recap on a few things on that in a little bit. But sort of all in all, the most important thing for eye contact, if you have to choose an eye to look into, choose their left eye, which is on your right side. Their left eye is going to be their left peripheral, and our left peripheral, and the left side of our eye, our sort of a vision, is what controls our emotional state, and our right side controls our logical state. So our emotional state and our creative brain are our left peripheral, and you want to look into a woman's left eye or sit to her left if you're talking to her, so that you can have a better chance of sort of appealing to her emotional brain and a better chance of sort of really getting past all of the logical barriers that she has up around talking to a guy she just met and being attracted to him. So that's one. There are a lot of other things as well. You can also hold eye contact with a woman until she looks away, which I highly encourage you to do. I also think that you should if you get a response back from a woman where she makes eye contact with you and then she looks down, I went over eye accessing cues during this webinar, and I sort of hit on how when people look in different directions, they access different parts of their brain. When you see a woman look at you and then look down, she's accessing her emotions, which means she looked at you, she had an emotional response, and then she looked down to access that part of her brain. So that means she's probably most likely attracted, or she wants to kill you. Probably one of the two, but most likely she's attracted to you. And that's sort of an indication that you really need to come on strong at that moment. When women look down after making eye contact, it's a very submissive process for her. And when they're that submissive, it means that they think that you're powerfully dominant and powerfully attractive as a man. So definitely take those cues in. And if you want to revisit the eye contact webinar, feel free to go ahead and do that. It's there to replay forever, so you can have that. The second webinar we went over is all about touch. Touch is the major component that stands in the way of you. Will drop you into the friend zone and will keep you from collecting some sort of physical trust with her and really building that physical contact. Touch is probably the most in America and in a lot of in England, especially a lot of English-speaking countries, is one of the most overlooked and I guess the most neglected forms of body language. It can create something called anchoring, which is where you have an emotion, and when you touch something or someone during that emotion, while having that emotion, you anchor that emotion to them, and that means that you have an association with them and that emotion. So every time you see them or they mention their names or you think of them, you have that same emotion pop up. This is sort of how we work physiologically. We attach emotion to objects and to experiences. And so touch, especially during rapport, is very, very crucial because it attaches that trust to you and it allows you to trust them physically. And of course, if a woman trusts you physically, that's the step right before she has sex with you. So just to be straightforward about that, I know that's a really powerful concept and a lot of guys want to know that. So that's important. So if you touch properly, and again, revisit that webinar, and you can know how to do that. There are basically 3 types of touch. The first type of touch is fleeting or temporary touch. Second type of touch is a lingering touch, which is a little bit longer. You keep it on from 3 to 5 seconds. Temporary touch is 1 to 3 seconds, then you take your hand off. A lingering touch is 3 to 5 seconds, and then you take your hand off. And then constant touch is constant, and you keep your hand on. That's during the stage of seduction. So those are the 3 different types, and you have to know when to use each type in order to sort of pull that out and be able to build the touch ladder into a way where you get physical with a woman and escalate physically with her over time as you're talking to her. It's a really powerful concept and really, really important. Then we went over negative body language, probably the most important concept when it comes to building attraction with a woman. If you just know negative body language, you can get really, really, really far. If you don't know what to do after that, you'll get a lot of attraction, but if you don't know how to segue into rapport, then you're kind of screwed. But you can get a whole lot of attraction, though, through using this sort of negative body language properly. And there are a couple concepts. One is that when a woman gives you a positive response and she's trying to impress you in some kind of way, if you give her a little bit of negative body language for a moment, she'll chase you. Getting a woman to chase you constantly isn't necessarily good. At some point, you have to capitalize on that so she feels validated. Otherwise, she's going to feel like she keeps chasing you and you keep running away and she's stupid and ugly and you don't like her. And that may be the case, but you don't want to tell her that. So using negative body language properly is probably the biggest mistake not properly, but using it incorrectly is one of the biggest mistakes that men make during the attraction stage. And instead of using negative body language, most of the time guys try to use negative language, right? Negative verbal language, which I don't teach because it actually is not effective at all. Whenever it is effective, it's because you're accidentally using negative body language in the place of negative speech or negative verbal language. So you don't know that. So a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll go up and they'll say something kind of insulting to a woman, and they're trying to be congruent with that thing, so they turn their back a little bit. And when they turn their back, that's what gets women interested, not when they say the negative thing. Women are actually so attracted after they turn their backs that they're willing to overlook the concept that they just got insulted by a guy, which is really powerful. So get rid of I always teach positive tongue, negative body language. So make sure you keep that in mind and revisit that negative body language course and webinar if you'd really like to. It's a really powerful concept. Again, this is probably when I first noticed how to build attraction. Like when I walked into a bar for the first time and I realized that I could do this anytime I wanted to, it was because I finally understood and I could see negative body language happening. And it sort of took me out of my body for a minute so I could zoom out and see what was going on while it was happening instead of being caught up in the moment. So if a girl was treating me kind of poorly, instead of getting emotional about it, at that exact moment I would go, oh my God, she's testing me. So I'm just going to turn my back a little bit. And I'd turn my back a little bit and I wouldn't be emotionally involved. And then she would automatically chase me and then want me and be attracted to me. And then I'd turn back and then she would push pull. She would turn away a little bit and we'd have this sort of dance back and forth. And that's whenever I realized that negative body language is a massive, huge part of the attraction process. Next, we went over psychological space. That was an intense webinar. I'm sure a lot of people didn't expect it to be so intense. Probably one of the least talked about areas of body language or attraction in general. Psychological space is sort of the idea that we all have a mental concept of where our personal space is, and it shifts based on whether or not we are in a large space or in a small space, or being around a lot of people or around very few people. And I sort of demonstrated that in the psychological space webinar. And one of the major concepts behind this is that we have a lot of hats that we put on, and you can get a girl to put on a certain kind of hat if you know how to put on your kind of hat, your sort of powerful man hat. So what you can do is you can actually enter someone else's psychological space, and you can enter it very quickly, and you can enter it dominantly and sexually, even at times, if you know how to skip steps properly. So as I go through this, you'll know there's a lot of rules for attracting women, and if you know how to break the rules, or bend the rules rather, then you can do that. But if you don't know the rules and you don't live by the rules first, then you can't bend them or break them in the future. So now when I go into an interaction, I'm not worried about screwing it up, because if I do screw it up, I know immediately that I know how to fix it. And that's sort of a place of complete control for me and power for me. So now I have a choice as to whether or not I really want to attract a woman or not, and whether or not I want to be in my head or not, or I want to control the interaction or not. Because for me, I can just say, well, okay, well, I'll just keep doing whatever I want to like normal until I screw up, and then I'll just fix it all. And knowing psychological space is one of the key components to being able to tell whether or not you are sort of heading down the wrong path, or you're going the right way. Next, we went over dominant body language. So dominant body language is a concept that we have a gender role presentation that we give to people, and as soon as they see us, they determine our default gender role. And most women, in general though, we are attracted to the opposing gender role. So if you are playing the male gender role, you're going to be attracting women who are playing the female gender role. And if you are playing the female gender role, you're going to be attracting women who are playing the male gender role. So a lot of women who are pretending to be really powerful attract really weak men, and that is a big problem for them, because then they're attracting guys. They don't know why they're attracting guys like this, and they don't really like those guys. They're looking for a guy to overpower them, to be more dominant than they are and more in control than they are. And it's a test that a lot of women give, but not a whole lot of men pass. And so a lot of those women end up with either really weak men that they cheat on, or they'll end up with extremely domineering guys who are as good as it gets for them, basically. And so this webinar that I went over last time sort of teaches how to sort of present yourself in a way that shows women immediately that you are dominant and that you are playing the male gender role, so that they can play the female gender role, and they don't have to worry about sort of changing themselves to be too hard on you. And when you do this and use dominant body language properly, you'll get a lot of really powerfully sexual responses from women. So definitely go back and revisit that if you want to sort of catch up on that and really connect on how to show your dominance in a way that is really attractive to women and not overbearing. A lot of guys get this wrong, and they overdo it in a lot of different ways, and they sort of overcompensate by either presenting too much of dominance, like they're trying to pretend like they're very, very, very dominant guys, but they're not congruent. There's no way you can control all your body and all your body movements to be able to show that you're dominant. It's more important than that you actually control your belief system, which I go over a lot in the Tao of Badass, how to actually control your belief systems and create new belief systems. That is, and it by far is the most powerful belief system creation process that exists that I've ever seen. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen that, or revisit it if you need to. But again, dominant body language is a very powerful way to show women immediately, without saying anything, that they can be feminine and dainty and small and sort of fragile around you, and you'll be able to take them in and not crush them. So not too dominant, or not too powerful, or not too angry. Sort of you're used to the idea that you're around sort of smaller, less powerful women, and physically powerful, so you won't crush them or overbear. And then also that you are not so weak that you're going to sort of fold under pressure and kind of show that you're kind of a pussy, to be honest. Most women, many women are completely turned off by the idea that a guy is playing the female gender role instead of the male gender role. And like I said, if you've ever been sort of called or caught in the nice guy funnel or that sort of downward spiral, it's probably because you're showing submissive body language around her. And so she started trying to lead the interaction. And as soon as she starts to do that, you'll get a shitload of tests from her. So she'll start to test you a lot, giving you compliance. There's a section of The Tao of Badass where I go over relationship balance. And in that section, I talk a lot about how to balance the different 4 areas of an interaction or a relationship that you have with a woman over time. And 2 of those areas are compliance and power, and they're related. So the more power that you have, the less compliance test, the fewer compliance tests that you'll get from a woman. And the less power that you have, the more compliance tests you'll get from a woman. And if you try to switch and actually raise your power immediately, you're going to get a ton of compliance tests. And I sort of show how to go over that and how to fix that problem within the Tao of Badass. But now we're going to go over the big question mark, which is, what is the 6th pillar of sex appeal? This is the one that's got the drop shadow, the glow effect behind it, and the ellipse around it. It's obviously very, very important, so you can see that right there. But the 6th pillar of sex appeal, this is the pillar that I did not add into the original, and I had a lot of good positive responses from guys, and a lot of really good participation during this process. So I really wanted to go ahead and throw in a 6th webinar. So I'm happy to do that now. I'm really, really proud of you guys for convincing me to do that, because I really wanted to do it in the first place. And so we're going to go over the 6th pillar of sex appeal right now. But first, hey, all right, my marketing's coming out. If you can remember now, we're going to go over some of the major components of communication or body language and why body language is so important. 60% of communication is actually body language. This means that 60% of the message you're actually getting across to somebody is coming across through your body language, which is why when you're writing an email or a text, it's very, very likely it's going to be taken wrong. If you're on the phone, it's more likely to be taken wrong. What you're saying is going to be taken in the wrong context. And if you're in person, it's less likely to be taken out of context because you have 100% of the different communication areas being presented. But 60% of communication, though, is strictly body language. And so women essentially trust your body language more than they trust what you're saying very early on. And so it's really important that you know body language well and you understand how to use body language to attract women. Because if you're trying to just explain to women, it's going to come across as extremely incongruent and really unattractive. And you don't want to be unattractive, I promise. So body language is a learned skill. It's learned by mimicking movements subconsciously. So when you're a little kid, one of the first ways that you learn how to communicate is through mimicking movements of your parents or people around you. Someone will smile, you smile back, and so you get you get something to eat. You scream and you're hungry, so you get something to eat. You scream to go to the bathroom, so someone changes your diaper. Basically, everything that you do is a response to something else. And you learn as a child how to do something and get a response. But you also learn how to more acutely understand how you move your body. So in the beginning, early on, when you're a child, you might see that someone points at something and then they get it. And so you see that and you mimic it, but as a kid, you don't really know how to point your finger. So you don't have that muscle, acute muscle awareness. So you point your whole fist or you point your whole hand like you want it. You can try to grab it. And then as you get older, you learn how to point with your finger and you learn how to control your body a little bit more. So this process, I just realized it says body language. That's one of those weird things that I do for some reason. I'm dyslexic. So we try to mimic these movements in other people very early on. And that's how we communicate in the beginning. But because this is learned subconsciously, then we read body language with our subconscious minds. So it lives in our subconscious minds. When we read body language, it speaks directly to our subconscious mind. And our logical minds don't have the ability to truly understand body language, which is why you don't want to be super aware of this all the time. You just want to be able to understand it and see it, and then sort of get rid of it and forget it, because your subconscious mind is exponentially better at recognizing body movements than your conscious mind is. But because of this, our conscious minds relay information to our subconscious minds relay information to our conscious minds through feelings and emotions. That means that the way that your subconscious mind talks to your conscious mind, meaning the way that your deep, dark, hidden part of yourself speaks to your part of yourself that you know exists, the part that is around and walking and talking to people, is through emotions. Which is why people say, I have a gut feeling, which you've heard before. So a gut feeling basically just means that you have an emotion based around some concept. And that's because your subconscious mind is recognizing patterns. And your subconscious mind, by the way, is much, much better at recognizing patterns than your conscious mind is. It's been said that you have, for every bit of information that your conscious mind recognized, you have 10,000 bits of information that your subconscious mind has already registered. So it's much, much better, much more accurate. And under hypnosis, a lot of people experience these sort of flood of subconscious activity and subconscious concepts, because it's a really powerful thing. So because your subconscious mind is such a good, recaller, has such a good memory for tiny details, every little thing that you're taking in you're not aware of it, isn't coming to your conscious mind, is being registered by your subconscious mind, and it's speaking to you through your emotions. So this is what this means for you right now, is that using body language to attract women will make them feel attracted to you instead of make them feel like they should be attracted to you. And this is a massive, massive difference. The difference between a guy who can actually walk into a bar, meet a woman, pick her up, and then go home and sleep with her that night and have a relationship with her from there on, instead of trying to sort of beat around the bush and take forever, is a guy who can speak to a woman's emotions. It's a very, very powerful thing to be able to do. And body language is the only way, using body language properly, is the only way to speak to a woman's emotions. And I'm going to get into something tonight that it's going to be very, very powerful, and I'm going to teach you how to use body language to sort of speak to her emotions very, very well. So to kind of dive in a little bit more, 20% of communication is actually verbal content. So that's what you're saying. Maybe you have a story that you want to tell a girl. Maybe you're trying to impress her because you have a nice car. Or you think that women want to know that you have a good job, and so you say that to her. But the problem is that that's not really the case. Women don't really give a shit. And in fact, if you're saying that out loud, it means that you think that's going to work, which means you're not used to beautiful women being around you. Because if you were used to beautiful women, you would know that doesn't work. So you wouldn't say it at all. And that's called qualifying. And we'll get into that in another course. But it's also in the Tao of Badass as well. It's a major, major concept that most guys skip over. So 20% of communication is verbal content. And then also 20% of communication is vocal tonality. And that is sort of how you say something, sort of the notes in your voice, whether or not your voice goes up and down, how it ends, how it starts, whether or not you're monotone, things like that. And we have subconscious recognition of all these different movements of how your vocal tonality is. And that kind of takes us to today's mystery topic, and that is vocal tonality. Hey, look at that. It was there the whole time. You didn't even see it. I'm not trying to say you're stupid, but I'm just saying, Again, if you guys have any questions at all, please send those questions to me. You can actually ask me a question in real time if you'd like to, or you can comment, and I will get back to you as soon as I can with a response. This vocal tonality today is our topic, and I am really excited to talk about it. Before we get into it in too much detail, I want to talk a little bit about how powerful it really is. So whenever I learned a lot through mimicking, just like a lot of people do. And especially when it came to learning how to attract women, some things are just beyond my ability to understand, and I can't try to grasp them consciously. If I try to grasp them consciously, then I lose sight and lose the ability to actually be able to understand the concept. And so instead of trying to understand everything consciously, I realized that it's better for me sometimes to just forget about it and mimic someone, and then I would get a little bit ahead, like sort of learn how to I'd see their success early, and then I'd be able to break that down afterwards. And so one of the things I mimicked was a guy that I knew, and he was sort of the master at I don't know, he's like a ninja, seduction ninja. He would just go into a group of women who he didn't know. There'd be like 6 of them, and I'd be talking to the whole group, and I'd look around, and there'd be 5. And I'd be like, what happened? And I'd turn around and he's making out with one, and literally making out in 25 seconds. They don't even know his name. Nothing. I know it sounds outrageous, but I was blown away when I saw this. So I started going, what the hell does this guy have that I don't have? This was a long time ago. And so I didn't know what the answer to that question was, so I just started mimicking the guy. And he was half French, half Italian, so that got a little weird for me to start mimicking him. But I tried. I tried to figure it out. And what I eventually came to realize is that he was using a couple of things. He was using some powerful psychological space and framing techniques, but he was also using a really important concept that most guys overlook, and that is vocal tonality. He was using vocal tonality to skip stages in the map of interaction and bring women into sort of a trance when he first met them. And I'm going to teach you a little bit how to do that right now, and I won't get into too much detail. Tonight I'm going to get into as much as I can, but if you want me to elaborate on something, please just ask me a question, and I will elaborate. Again, you should be able to ask questions right within this window, but if you can't right here, you can also comment below, and I should be able to get back to you as soon as I can. So let's moving right along here. Okay, so vocal tonality is the only direct path past a woman's logical brain and directly into her emotional brain. So it's the only way that you can go straight through her logical brain and speak directly to her emotional brain. And it's also the way that you have the most control over while it's happening. It's very hard to control a woman's emotional response with your body language only, without saying anything. But using your body language in conjunction with vocal tonality, it's very, very easy to control a woman's state and her attraction and her emotion. And again, keep in mind that if you understand vocal tonality and you understand the rest of body language, at the same time, you're now controlling 80% of the communication that gets across to her while you're talking to her. So if your idea is that you want to communicate that you're an attractive guy, you can do what most people do, and that is use 20% of communication by just saying it out loud and hoping that your verbal content will get across to her. Or you can use the 80% of the communication to communicate this concept that you're an attractive guy by using vocal tonality with your body language. So I think you're just starting to understand now how this is so important. I just realized that I did not go over a concept in this presentation that I'm going to go over right now that I believe is a very, very powerful concept. So I don't know how many Canadians we have in the audience, but or people from the north, very, very, very far north. We have some northerners here in the room, but a lot of people, especially like valley girls and stuff like that too, have this weird vocal tonality twitch, and a lot of Canadians have the concept too, and a lot of people from far up north have the same concept, and that is that they end their sentences on an up note, which is kind of like this, and they say this. And if you're Canadian, you do this. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying that's how it is. A lot of Irish, even a lot of Brits do the same thing. It's sort of spread across a lot of different cultures. Well, this is a very, very bad thing to have sort of bestowed upon you as a child. And when you're learning how to speak, you're going to have to undo that. And the reason why is because your vocal tonality and the way you end your sentence determines how sure you are of yourself when you say what you're saying. And that means, and what I mean by that is that if you end on an up note, then it makes you seem like you're constantly questioning what you're saying. And if you end on a down note, it makes everyone feel like you have everything under control and that you know what you're talking about and that you're very assertive and real and dominant. And so if I said to you, today is Monday, if it was Monday or not, it wouldn't matter. Your initial thought would be, okay. But if I said today's Monday, you might go, oh wait, your first thought might be, is today Monday? And that's the problem. A lot of people end on an up note. So it sounds like everything they're saying sounds like a question, which makes women think that they're not sure of themselves. And so women who hear a man talking with a lot of up notes toward the end, it's very hard for them to believe that this man is going to be very confident, because if he's ending everything with an up note, then she's going to feel like, well, he's not sure of himself and he doesn't know what he's saying, and what he's saying probably isn't true, and so I need to question everything. And so you start to elicit these responses from women where they start to question everything you're saying and you don't know why it's happening in the first place. So it's very, very powerful and very important to end everything on a down note, unless you want them to think that you don't know what you're talking about, of course, and you want to disarm them. And that's sort of advanced and more advanced. Once you learn how to use your speech in a way where you end on a down note all the time, then you can go back and experiment with ending on an up note every once in a while to see how it works. I know that sometimes if I want a woman to think that I am very unsure of something, I will definitely end on an up note in a sentence. And usually that will elicit a response from them without having to ask them a question. And if you do want to get a response and you do want to get her to respond back to you quickly, then you can end on an up note. But if you want her to feel like you know what you're talking about, you cannot end on an up note. I do have a question, so I'm going to go ahead and check that out here. Can you give an example of what and how you would first say to a girl you are curious about? What? I don't understand what you mean by that. Let's see. Can you give an example of what and how you would first say? Okay, so basically what I would say to a girl in the beginning, that would be a sort of that would cause her to feel like I know what I'm talking about. I'm guessing that's what you're asking. If it's not what you're asking, just let me know. But I'm going to answer that question anyway. So it's not so much what you say as much as how you say it. So in the beginning of an interaction, women are placing very, very little credence and very, very little importance on what you're actually saying. Instead, they're subconsciously recognizing everything that you're doing and how you're saying everything. And so it matters very little how you're saying it, what you're actually saying. And in a minute, I'm going to go into the different types of vocal tonality. Let me go back to this here. There we go. Vocal tonality. And I'm going to sort of reveal to you the different, there's two major different types, and I'm going to reveal to you which one to use at which time. But it looks like you may have elaborated here a little bit. Here we go. Okay. So you said like the Fonz from Happy Days. I guess you mean like as far as like one-liners go, or sort of come across like a really confident and very powerful man. Well, in the very beginning, and if you go back and you do watch sort of Happy Days or any other movie or TV show or movie where they have a really powerful main character who women really like a whole lot, then you'll see there's commonalities through all these different characters. One of the commonalities is sort of aloofness, and that's brought to you in the way of negative body language. So the Fonz is classic of this. He just doesn't give a shit. He just turns around, doesn't matter, and women go crazy over him because of that. He just doesn't care. And so, but what he does say is he's usually very nonsensical. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's not really about getting something across. He's not trying to impress the woman that he's talking to. Instead of trying to impress the woman he's talking to, he is instead focusing on sort of clarifying what his major component, what his major, not really element, but his major message is. And that major message is, I am an attractive, powerful man. And so it doesn't really matter what he's saying. Instead, it matters how he says it. And the Fonz is a character that's sort of exaggerated a lot. So as you sort of watch him, you have to know that they exaggerate all of his qualities that make him attractive, and to the point where it's kind of overcompensated. So you don't want to follow his lead exactly, because then you'll be super aloof and you'll be sitting really wide and a super dominant, sort of incongruent kind of way. But in a bit, I'm going to go over banter. And if you haven't seen it already, everyone who's signed up for this also has access to what's called the banter cheat sheet. And that is a list of things that I say to women, and I have tested, and all my coaches have tested as well, over years and years and years of trying it out, that has worked an exponential amount more than some of the other things we've said. So the percentage of which saying this certain thing when you first walk up to a woman, that it works, that those percentages are much higher, and you'll get a much higher success rate. The banter cheat sheet is in the members area, so when you log in, you'll see there's a section that says access my downloads, unless we change the members area by now, which I'm not sure if we have. But check it out and go basically search for it. You'll find it within the same area that the Tao of Badass is hiding. And you can get access to that cheat sheet, and you can know exactly what to say there. So go ahead and check that out there, if that'll help you out a lot. But ultimately, if in the beginning though of an interaction, you have to know which type of vocal tonality to use, and that's kind of sort of going to help clarify an answer to your question right here. So there are two types. The first type is your attraction voice, also known as your banter voice, and the second type is called your seduction voice. Now, knowing that these are two different types of vocal tonality is going to help you discern a massive amount of difference between something that actually works with a woman and something that doesn't work with a woman. And in a bit, I'm going to show you how to use which voice at which time and what that response is. But first, I'm going to go over the attraction voice aka the banter voice. I like to call it my banter voice because it's just a lot easier for me to remember that I'm in banter right now, and what I'm saying doesn't really need to make a whole lot of sense. And so I use this voice during banter. If you use another voice during banter, I'll tell you what happens in a bit, and you can really screw things up, or you can skip stages depending on how well you do it. So I'll show you that. It's a little bit more advanced in a moment. Again, if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to ask those questions. I'm going to go ahead and take these. Okay, cool. I answered the question, which is good. I like answering questions. So again, we're going to have a hot seat in a bit, a Q&A, and I want you to save a lot of questions that you might have that are bigger for that time. But if you have questions now in the meantime, please throw them at me, and I will get them as soon as I can. So your attraction or banter voice, I'm going to call it the banter voice from now on, is what you would use during the stage of attraction. And when you first meet a woman, it should typically be your default voice. The benefits of using your banter voice, which I'm going to go into a minute what that actually means, so you'll know what that means in a moment. The benefits of using your banter voice is that it travels far, so you can actually talk and get your message across a large area of people. Let me make sure that I'm still good here, by the way. Looks like my audio may have went out here for a second. Let me let that connect just for a moment here. In the meantime, enjoy this music. There we go. All right, let's see. I'm back. Sorry, everybody. Didn't mean to go out there for a moment. Looks like my audio cut out. So, all right, I am back now, as far as you know, and I'm going to continue to go. So I didn't cover too much here. I just sort of said that these are the benefits of using your banter voice. First is that it travels very far. People can actually hear you better over time, over space rather. If you're in a loud environment, people can hear you from far away. So that's a lot of people use this sort of banter voice. It's also disarming and very friendly. So if you want that to happen, if you want to disarm people and you want to come across as friendly, you can use your banter voice. If you go into a crowd of people where you feel like you're going to have a lot of confrontation, then I would highly suggest that you use some kind of banter voice in order to disarm everyone, and a lot of negative body language in order to disarm everybody, and powerful positive eye contact. So that what this does is it shows that you're there, but allows people to feel like you're not going to be responding to any negative sort of actions or any congruence tests that they might throw at you, especially if there are like a lot of dudes in a group of women that you want to talk to. Then you have to be able to disarm them and be friendly. And it's also very playful and fun, so you can come across like a very fun guy. Sort of the let me switch back over here. Sort of the badness of doing this is that it can make you seem unmanly if you use it for too long, sort of like too childish. It can put you in the friend zone if you use it too much, and it can also be louder to other people than you think, so it can kind of pierce people's ears, and you will have women leaning away from you if that's the case. And if women start to lean away from you, then they're already starting to give you negative body language, which means that you'll probably try to lean in. When you try to lean in, they try to lean away more, and then all of a sudden you're chasing them around the bar, and it's very unattractive. It makes you come across as very needy. How to use your banter voice. Okay, so this is a very easy thing to demonstrate over audio, which is great. Most of the things I've been talking about are very difficult to demonstrate over audio. So when I'm using my banter voice, which is actually happening right now, if you put your hand on your throat, you'll notice when you're talking, you can do this while you're sitting there right now. If you put your hand on your throat and your throat is vibrating, but your chest is not vibrating, so put one hand on your throat and one hand on your chest. And whenever you're talking and your throat is vibrating, but your chest is not, that is your banter voice. So this is my banter voice right now. One of the benefits, like I said, I would use this when I first walk in. This is my default stage. It disarms a lot of people, makes people feel very comfortable. Like I'm not going to be coming in trying to sneak my way into being, sexual with them or anything, and I can go straight to attraction. Let me see. Got a question from Franklin here. I want to go ahead and address that real quick. Franklin's asking if you're in a banter mode and an outside guy comes in an attempt to overshadow you, sort of like push you out. Would I switch more to a manly tone, or would I continue to banter and try to disarm him? There's a lot of question about this, but I'll tell you what I do. I continue to banter and disarm the guy. Now, some schools of thought will tell you to sort of have an alpha battle with this dude. I never do that. I did it one time, and I felt so shitty for it, dude. It was terrible. I made this guy feel like crap, and the girls that I was with were like, damn, dude. And I just went home later on thinking I was kind of an asshole. And it was completely unnecessary, and I came across like I was actually pretty insecure for it. So instead of risking all that, what I do is I invite guys in. So whenever a guy comes into my group, I will immediately turn into host mode. It's better that you introduce the guy to every girl in the group and that he pairs off with one of them and leaves you alone than he comes in and tries to outdo you for everything. Now, if he tries to pair off with a girl that you dig, just keep the conversation going with the group and don't let him sneak away with the girl. So keep asking him questions and ask everyone else questions and involve him in the conversation a lot. And as soon as he inevitably takes the floor, then you just walk over, grab the girl, and walk away. And this is a really powerful thing to do. And the reason why is because this guy's not going to see that this is something that's happening that is sort of a competition. As soon as you throw up that you're competing with a guy, then you actually have to compete with him and you have to win. Otherwise, you've been beaten sort of by this guy. And so if he doesn't know that there's a competition going on in the first place, then he's not going to up his game, so to speak. As soon as you sort of make him aware, you have to try to outdo the guy, and it's a song and dance, and you can come across like you're very needy, and there's a major chance that you're going to get sort of blown out when you do that. So instead of doing that, I usually switch completely over to invite the guy into the group mode, introduce him to all the girls and all the guys in the group, ask him what he does, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And if he tries to sneak away, or if he sort of steps in and tries to attract a girl, I just step back and look at everybody else like he's nuts. And then everyone else tries to blow him out. I don't have to do it. So that's a really easy way to do it. I stick to my banter voice whenever that happens, especially if I'm in the middle of sort of attraction when it happens. Or if a guy walks up when I'm in rapport, things are a little bit different then. And I'll go into that in a bit, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So I go into that a bit here during this presentation, so I'm excited to tell you about that. But you use your banter voice by speaking sort of from your throat. This is a default mode that most guys are in all the time. Guys who are a little bit bigger and guys who are move a little bit slower tend to, and actually guys who metabolize slower, to be honest, tend to use their banter voice less, and guys who metabolize very quickly tend to move quicker, and speak with their banter voice. If you use your banter voice all the time and you don't switch, then women will think that you're gay or that you are not interested in them or that you're really weak, and it can come across like you're very submissive as a man. So instead, you have to know when to transition. I'm going to go into when to transition in a bit here. But for now, that's your banter voice. If you're feeling your throat and your throat is vibrating, but your chest is not really vibrating very much, then that is your banter voice. Now, this is something you use when you're at a default mode, sort of all the time. You're going to be using this voice because this disarms people. And attraction is all about building curiosity while disarming people and coming across like you are not a threat and you're not coming in too fast. And then the seduction voice is very, very different. The benefits of using your seduction voice are that it creates sexual arousal, it can show power and dominance, and it has a hypnotizing-like effect on women when you use it properly. And I'm going to teach you how to use it properly, so that's really good. The sort of bad parts, the badness here, is that you can come across as creepy if you do it too soon. So if you use your seduction voice too quickly in an interaction, you can come across like you're very creepy. It can be hard to hear as well, so you have to be very close. So if you haven't broken the psychological barrier yet with a woman, or the touch barrier with a woman, then you can get blown out, or you can skip stages depending on how well you do it. And then it can also emotionally spike women uncontrollably. Now, this could be a good or a bad thing. Women have very little power over a man using proper vocal tonality. This is good, but it's also bad if you don't want to attract a woman. You really should not use your seduction voice because it will really, really push her straight into a visceral state of visceral seductive state of deep sexual attraction. And that's good, but it's bad because if you really want to slow down, which a lot of guys don't want to slow down, but I would highly recommend that you do because you'll get, I'm a man who believes that a 10-night stand is better than a one-night stand. Personally, sex gets better over time, not worse. I mean, if it gets worse, then you can always stop. But a lot of guys are trying to get laid one night, but I really think it's a bad idea. I think it's much better for you to take your time with it and really enjoy the process and really experience this woman and sort of drink her up, so to speak. And when you do that and you do take your time, you don't skip straight to seduction too quickly, then she won't have any buyer's remorse later. And that means that she'll want to keep coming back for more, which is great. Otherwise, you'll have her one night, she'll split and she'll leave, and then you'll never get to understand the rest of the interaction and the rest of it, of the sort of relationship balance and the true seduction, which is longer and and it takes many days and many interactions, and where she's thinking about you constantly. She's in an open relationship with you, so you're hooking up with other women at the same time, and life is good for you. So if you want to know more about polyamory and how to hook up with lots of women at the same time and do it properly, I have a bonus report that you got already with that. So go ahead and check that out. It's in the members area as well, along with lots of other things that are really awesome. So how to use your seduction voice. So earlier I told you to put your hand in your throat and choke yourself. No, I didn't really tell you that, but you should. Now, earlier I told you to put your hand in your throat and speak in one hand in your chest, and if your throat was vibrating and your chest wasn't, that means you're using your banter voice. Well, do the same thing, but try to shift all the vibration down to your chest. And this is me using my seduction voice. So what's happening right now is I'm speaking from my sort of diaphragm. And it doesn't travel as far. It is a very short distance, but it creates a very powerful physical response whenever someone hears it. So the actual bass in your voice will move someone's skin so they can feel your voice in their body. And so it's a very penetrative process and a very penetrative voice. This is a voice that you want to use whenever you are sort of skipping straight to seduction, and also whenever you're getting very sexual with a woman. It's a really powerful thing to do, but I don't do this as a default. My default is my banter voice. Now, as you're hearing my voice now, you can probably tell the difference between this conversation style and this conversation style, which is a lot more sort of light and fluffy and easy. Now, it may seem like a really minor difference, but if I shift and show you sort of one after the other, it's really, really obvious. And what you should recognize is the difference in how you feel and the way that I'm speaking this way versus the other way. And when I'm speaking this way, it's a lot more captivating. It's a lot more hypnotic, but it can also make you fall asleep, so I don't want to do that. So I'm doing a presentation right now. I'm trying to come across a little more friendly. But I would highly suggest that you cultivate this seduction voice. So you put your hand on your chest, preferably just below your chest, sort of on your diaphragm where your ribs split apart for the first time. And you want to speak, and you want that to vibrate sort of more or maybe equally to how your throat is vibrating. And it should completely change the way that your voice sounds. Now, a really powerful way to use this, and a really important thing to know, is that whenever you lean in to talk to a girl, if you're leaning in, this is, of course, after you've gone through rapport, because if you lean in too early, then you're projecting neediness. So once you start to have actual conversation with a woman where she's talking to you about real shit and it's not a bunch of jokes like banter, then you can actually lean in. And when you're using your seduction voice during that process, it helps her along through the rapport process to build sexual attraction for you in order to transition directly to seduction. That's a lot. It's sort of a mouthful of information right there. So I maybe you want to write that down or just think about it for a bit and come back later, revisit it, and really understand it through watching the videos again. But your seduction voice is your most powerful tool to jump straight into creating a massive amount of sexual attraction with a woman. And whenever you do speak to her, you can speak sort of at her neck with this voice. And if you speak at her neck instead of speaking at her ear, you may not be able to hear your own voice when you do this because it may be loud, but rest assured she can hear you. So a lot of guys get sort of insecure, and I did this for a while, where I thought that maybe she wasn't going to be able to hear me, so I would try to speak louder, and then she would lean away. You don't want her to lean away. You want her to lean in, and you want her to lean to get more of your voice, to get more of what you're saying. And it's a really powerfully sexual response that women will have, and you'll notice immediately that she'll start to give you all those responses that a lot of guys are looking for, and most men are just like, how do I get a woman to do this? How to get a woman to look at me like that? To lick her lips, to bite her bottom lip, to look down, to have dilated pupils, things like this. And this is all as a response from body language and vocal tonality. I've literally walked up to a woman and said complete nonsense, but in my seduction voice, and she made out with me. So it would make absolute no sense. Like Johnny and I, my old business partner, a friend of mine, we used to have a contest to see who could say the stupidest thing and still make out. And I remember one time he walked up and he was like, I love cabbage. So he started talking about cabbage to this woman, and he was talking in his seduction voice, and she immediately glazed over and just started to melt. And I was just laughing my ass off because it's so funny to see how little it really matters what you're saying in the first place to a woman. And I've had all sorts of, like, we had a conversation for a while. We were talking about turtles, and we would see who could talk to women about turtles in the most sexual way and get them to respond in have a sexual response. And it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that, especially at a bar when no one expects it to happen. And it can be a really powerful tool to sort of make you this ninja, this seduction ninja. I should make a product called Seduction Ninja. That's a sweet name. But either way, very powerful tool as well, and I definitely think you should use it. So here is the sort of start to finish how to use your vocal tonality and how to sort of change it over time. During the attraction phase, of course, you're going to be using your banter voice. This is the voice where you're speaking from your throat like this, and you can speak a lot faster. You can say a lot more things, and it travels a lot farther, so you can gain a lot of attention from a lot of people. This is very disarming, very, not really, I wouldn't say submissive, but I would say definitely very comfortable and very friendly. And women are not going to be sort of thrown off by this. And guys are also not going to be thrown off by this, which is why it's a very powerful thing to be able to do. I don't believe in competing with other guys for women. I believe in just winning. 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 So, as the great Charlie Sheen would say. Hopefully you're watching this at a time when that's relevant. But I believe in just not even having any competition, completely blowing away the competition, because I know what I'm doing so well, and I can control them so well that I don't have to worry about competing. And because of that, I bring guys into a banter space where they feel like I'm very, very friendly, and as soon as they buy into that, I can totally turn them around and face them in the opposite direction. They don't even know what happened. So I would definitely suggest you use your banter voice as a default until you start to get into rapport with a woman. When you get into rapport, you're going to shift gradually from your banter voice to your seduction voice over time. And the way that you do that is as you start to have actual serious conversation, and as things start to get emotional, you're going to throw in your seduction voice for like a response, 1 or 2 responses really quickly, then you're going to go back to your banter voice. And the way that might sort of come out is that it might be like, you'd be talking about something like this, and they'd have a response back, and then you go, yeah, that really makes a lot of sense. And then you go, back to your banter voice. And so that would sort of draw her in for a second and then push her away. And draw her in and push her away with your vocal tonality. And you're going to keep doing this until the majority of your conversation is actually with this voice, with your seduction voice. And as you build this powerful seduction with this woman, you're going to be touching her in a more seductive way, and you're going to be having sort of more seductive eye contact and everything all at one time. Instead of taking it and jumping from piece to piece and sort of growing one area, then growing another area, you have to ease into it all at once, and that's the sort of mark of a master of seduction, is somebody who can ease a woman into the seductive phase to the point where she doesn't even know what's happening, and she's totally comfortable with it, and you covered all your bases so that you know that she's there with you consciously, and she's definitely making that decision to continue. And that's a really powerful thing. I'm going to just check something real quick here. I have a question, a hand up from Bernard. If you don't want me to unmute you, you can put your hand down, but I will unmute you in a bit here as soon as we get to the Q&A if you're interested in that. So finally, let me go back. That's the go back voice, or noise rather. Of course, in seduction, you're going to be using your seduction voice only. If you snap out of your seduction voice, she will snap out of seduction. The end. That's how it is. So you have to keep this voice going. You have to keep it powerful. You have to keep it rolling. If you snap out of it, she will snap out too. So again, attraction, of course, you're going to be using your banter voice. Rapport, you're going to be sort of, I'm pointing at the screen right now because you can't see that, but you're going to be sort of a gradient effect across the screen. You're going to be going from one style slightly and slowly over to the other style, from your banter voice as the majority, and every once in a while you're going to be throwing in your seductive voice, and then you're going to be pushing it over to eventually being fully in your seductive voice. Rapport is a very, very gradient stage, a very, very soft stage to go through. And so what this does is it takes her from being some girl you just met at a bar and takes you, or at wherever, at a coffee shop, takes you from being just some dude she met at a bar or a coffee shop or whatever, and slides you in to the stage in her mind, into the folder that where men who she knows well, who she's deeply attracted and sexually attracted to, where they exist. I remember the first time I met a girl and went from attraction to seduction during the daytime with, and ended up sleeping with her before it was even nighttime. I met her at a what was it, grocery store in North Carolina at the time, and I sat down. She sat down at my table actually because I invited her over, and I started out banter, looking at everybody, giving everyone attention, and then just very slowly pulled her into rapport with me, and then went through this process. And again, the Tao of Badass sort of shows the process that I went through if you go to the rapport section. And I started to add all this sexual innuendo into the conversation. And as in the beginning, sexual innuendo is funny if you're doing it with your banter voice. But as you start to go through your seduction voice, sexual innuendo becomes very arousing to women. So if you go straight to sexual innuendo without using your banter voice first, then it can be very creepy. So you have to sort of ease women into this process, and I eased her into with this sort of having sexual talk and talking about sex a lot and blowjobs and all sorts of stuff. And as I started talking in the beginning, it was completely harmless because I had my banter voice that I was using. And then as the conversation progressed, I started using my seduction voice and didn't change anything else. And I started to see her get these specific responses, and started to see her eyes, her pupils dilate, and I started to see her sort of glaze over and look at me and look down a lot and smile, and I could tell immediately she was sort of ready to go, which is nice. She ended up being crazy, by the way, just so you know. I dated multiple people at the time. I was polyamorous, and I ended up having to cut her off. Actually, I've only had to cut off a couple of women, and she was one of the ones I had to cut off. She got a little nuts there, but I've dated nuts women. Crazy women need loving too. And you're gonna have to be the guy sometimes to give that to them. I believe very much in what's it called, public service. Some women need to have sex with you, and you're gonna have to give that to them. You can have a couple of rules around it, but I wouldn't have too many rules. So anyway, so that's it. That's it for vocal tonality. If you have any questions at all, I'm totally open to hearing those right now. We're gonna go to a surprise hot seat, which means I'm gonna call on people within this group, and I'm going to talk to you out loud, verbally, and you are going to ask me questions, and I want to basically anything in your life at all. This ends, by the way, our 5-week bilanguage mastery course. So anything in your life at all that you want to talk to me about, that you'd like my insight or my input on, you can sort of raise your hand or post a question right here, and I will go ahead and talk to you about that right now. I'm sort of giving you this opportunity to put you in the hot seat and answer your question, and it's very likely that a lot of other guys are going to have the same question as well. So go ahead and ask those questions, and I will be able to answer them for you. Let me see. I got a question right here. Let's see. Let me read it first. Franklin asked me a question, and he said it might be kind of a complex question, but it's not really that complex, so I'll answer it. He asked, at what stage or what part in the rapport formula, so if you've gone through the Tao of Badass, you'll notice that I have a formula for rapport, a start to finish process that everyone goes through when they're building powerful rapport, which actually creates love with a woman. And if you follow these steps within that process, then you will automatically build powerful rapport with a woman. It's really great. And you just plug yourself into this process, and then it will sort of walk you through the ability to create a strong emotional connection with her. So one of the steps there, and one of the most powerful steps, is called release. That's where you let go of your rapport topic that you've already built with a woman, and you sort of grab onto another one, and you connect on another topic. And whenever you do that, it creates a sort of loop that creates love between the two of you. It's a very, very powerful thing to do. And so Franklin's asking, at what point during the release stage do you switch back to your banter voice, or if you do, or do you just remain in your seduction voice until you sort of arrive at the stage of seduction, or whatever the next topic is? So I would say that in the beginning, like I said before, you have this sort of gradient scale. So in the beginning, you're going to be going through the stage of rapport and getting sort of, step by step, getting a little bit more, using your seductive voice a little bit more over time. And then when you snap out and go to the release stage and you jump back to an earlier topic, you're going to bring it back out to a little bit more of your banter voice, and then you're going to jump right back into your seduction voice again and continue to talk. So after that point, you try to bring it to the point where you're using your seductive voice all the time, and you're not getting a strange response from her. She's definitely into you. She's definitely giving you a positive response. So when you get to that point where you are using your your seduction voice constantly. Whenever she's leaning into you constantly, she's looking at looking at you in the eyes. She's looking down every once in a while. She's smiling a lot, and she's allowing you to touch her constantly. It's time for you to go in for the kiss immediately. If you don't go in for the kiss right then, you're gonna fully blow it with her. And there's a way that I used to sort of go in for the kiss for me, it's had almost 100% success rate, about 99% success rate of the women that I've kissed and in the past that I've used this with. It just works. If you do want to know that, I guess you guys can ask me. I go over it a little bit, but if you do want to know that, let me know right now, and I'll kind of go into it. Let's see. Got a couple other things here. Just let me know if you do, and I will go into it. Okay, got another question here. Will her tonality also change, and will she have her own banter or seduction voice? Yes. So Franklin's asking, will her tonality change as yours does? And does she have her own banter and seduction voice? And the answer is yes. So she also has her own feelings. She has her own brain, which is important. I like that, at least. I think that's cool. So as you sort of change your voice, you're gonna hear her going to her seduction voice. A woman's seduction voice sounds different than a man's, and I'm sure you know what it's like. It's like that porn star seduction voice that you probably heard 1,000 women saying. I don't know how much porn you've watched, but if you watch a lot of porn, you've definitely seen that before. But ultimately, it is that sort of that voice that turns a lot of guys on. That's a woman's seduction voice. And because as men, we want to skip steps directly to seduction for, it's theorized for plenty of reasons, a whole series of reasons. But women who use that voice properly can actually seduce men very easily. And so as you sort of go through the process, you'll start to hear her seduction voice come out too. But usually women will use their seduction voice in conjunction with like sort of, I don't think I'm going to need to tell you how to see this. You'll see it when it happens. But she uses it with very seductive eye contact, which is submissive eye contact, where she looks at you in the eyes and she looks down and smiles and looks back up and looks down. As she's doing this and she's using her seduction voice, she wants you to get sexual with her at that point. If you don't sort of go for the kiss and start to make out with her and progress things as far as she wants to go, she's going to be very, very upset with you. Okay, I got not a question, but Craig is saying that he's starting to see The Matrix, which is awesome. He said he had a woman completely into him, even with her husband sitting right next to her. Okay, well, hey, I'm not going to knock it. I'm not going to say I've never done that before. I'm in a relationship now, so if it's ever my girlfriend, I will slap you. But besides that, actually, I have a zero tolerance, by the way, for that. Over the years, I've had I've seen how easy it is to seduce women in relationships, and because of that, if I see a guy who's anywhere close to trying to seduce my girlfriend, I just bitch slap it immediately. I go straight in. I don't have any sort of any tolerance whatsoever. And, it's actually made me. I was a little bit scared for a while that I might be paranoid forever. Because it's like I get. I don't want to always be looking to seeing a guy to make sure he's not hitting on my girlfriend or whatever, and eventually my wife as I move forward. But I thought maybe that was never going to go away, but it went away eventually, which is nice. But damn, I was scared for a little while there that I'd always have that hanging over me, knowing that it's actually easiest to seduce women who are in relationships and who are in even married, and I know that because I've done it, unfortunately, and it's not the proudest thing I've ever. I'm not proud of that at all, but it's something that I have done before. Usually it's because I didn't know it was happening. I didn't know that they had a relationship, but sometimes I knew, to be honest, and I did it anyway, and that's not my proudest moment, but it is something that works across the board. And if if you ever see your girlfriend sort of being attracted to a guy like that, it should wake you up and let you know that you aren't taking care of her sexual needs in that moment, and you need to get on it. There's lots of different products that teach amazing sexual attraction, and I definitely need to come out with one at some point, and I will. That'll teach sort of seduction and how to sort of master the bedroom. Whoa, yeah, right. Pop filter just went crazy. How to master the bedroom, but that's that's sort of a side note. I'm going to get you to the bedroom first. That's sort of my quest. Yeah, there you go. And I'm not sure who said this first, but what was it? The uncle from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. Actually, Uncle Ben. That's who it was from Spider-Man. But yeah, so anyone else, if you have any questions whatsoever, I see Bernard, you still have your hand up. If you do want me to call on you, sort of and unmute you, then I will unmute you and we can chat. Now, just let me know. Sort of post a question right here. Let's see. Oh, good. So, Michael, I'm not going to say your last name, actually. Sorry, I almost said your last name. Michael said that he's been going nuts since sort of analyzing body language since the dominant body language webinar, which was last week, even to the point of like watching characters on television and trying to see which character is dominant. Now, this is powerful. What you're going through right now is technically it's called being self-conscious. It's you being aware or conscious of yourself and being conscious of what's going on around you. That is the beginning stage of seeing the Matrix. You should embrace that obsession for a while. It won't always be like that. You will be able to sort of tune that out at some point and let your subconscious mind take over. Because it's something new that you're seeing now all of a sudden from nowhere, you're going to be extremely aware of it. You're going to be extremely conscious of it, not just in other people, but also in yourself. And you can make guys become more submissive to you as well in an interaction by giving them negative body language as well and making them chase your attention. This will allow you to sort of be dominant in a situation and sort of win over a lot of guys. A lot of guys will sort of try to out-alpha you, sort of try to get you to back down. And I'm not trying to say you should go head on with these guys because you don't want to do that. But a lot of guys will have a really good response to you giving sort of this negative body language to. And so I definitely think that you should do that. Use all these things in conjunction, and watch this whole series again. Now that you're on the final bonus page, you can actually go back and watch all of them all over again, and you can sort of dive into the subjects and concepts again, and really write down, take notes, and try them out piece by piece. And I really suggest that you do that. Bernard, I see you took your hand down. So does that mean you don't want to talk? I don't know. Let me know if you do. If anyone here wants to actually chat, you can actually click a button that puts your hand up. Or let me know, and I should be able to talk to you directly. Or you can post a question. I'll answer it either now, or if I don't have time now, I'm going to actually be doing video responses to questions later on, and I'll be sort of shooting a video of me talking, so you get to see my ugly mug, and I'll demonstrate whatever I can, as long as it's not sexual. I mean, maybe if it is sexual, hey, whatever, But we got a couple guys here in the actual studio, as I'd call it right now, the Dudio. And Brad is a coach of mine, and Josh is a friend of ours. And I wanted to go ahead and open sort of the mic up to see if they have any questions, if you guys have any questions at all, or if you want to elaborate on anything at all, or just say something that maybe come to mind. And hopefully this will help you guys out as well, and we can sort of have a round table here, and you can be a part of that. And if you do have any statement or any sort of thing you want to chime in with, let me know, and we'll talk about it. So if you have any questions at all, let us know. And Brad's one of my coaches for my in-person training courses. I have two coaches. They're fantastic guys, Joe and Brad. They're very great people, and they're phenomenal. It takes a long time for someone to get past the point where they are a coach for me. So I get lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people who apply for the position. So they really know their shit, and they're really good. And more importantly, they know how to respond and connect with people and use this stuff in a really good way. So I'm going to open that up to Brad and to Josh here, and I hope this isn't too confusing having two Joshes, but if you have anything at all. So Josh, I'll start with you. Is there anything at all that kind of stuck out during this process, or that maybe you have going on right now, or anything that you want to chat about?
Yeah, I was wondering speaking of the tones, which tone would you start to use if, say, you were talking to a girl and maybe she started showing some sort of disinterest in you. Maybe she was starting to turn away. Mm-hmm. You started to notice you were losing the conversation. Mm-hmm. Which tone would you switch to?
Okay, so I think that the problem that you're facing is actually the question that you're asking. So whenever someone is giving you sort of not disinterest, mm-hmm. your tonality is not going to be enough to convince them to turn around and start to be interested again. Instead, you have to actually use body language to do that, like negative body language. And that's your most powerful tool. It's hard. Someone says it's hard to hear. Is that because, is everyone having a hard time hearing? If you are, just let me know. Maybe it's because you're too far away from the mic. I don't know. Maybe we can turn it. I don't know. Anyway, let us know if it's hard to hear. But it's sort of let me actually change it so it's omnidirectional. You may get a weirdness in the audio quality now, but bam, there we go. See if that's a little better. So basically what's happening is you're thinking like most guys do, which is, what do I say? And what do I say in order to get this girl to turn back around again, right? Because usually what you think is that you just said something stupid, and that now she's like not interested anymore, right? But usually what's happening is that you're showing too much positive body language, and that's why she's being disinterested. You're not giving her the opportunity to chase you, you know. So if you haven't given her the opportunity to chase you yet, one thing you can do is go straight into qualifying. And if you go into qualifying directly, what you can do is it sort of gives her the opportunity to start to chase you a little bit, and you know, it'll give her a chance to talk about herself for a minute and sort of try to convince you that she's attractive. You know, whenever you go through that process, it's not so much again what voice you're using, but if I had to choose a voice though that you're doing that in, I would snap back to banter, and the reason why is because people, especially women, have a you know, actually we do as well. We have an association with going backward through the map of interaction as being a punishment, right? So it's not a good feeling. We want to move forward. Even though we may not want to move forward with each person to the point of being done, we don't want to go back again. We don't want to feel like we just did something wrong, right? And so what you do during that process, if you try to move forward and go straight to seduction, it's actually going to turn her away more. So she's going to be like, this guy thinks that he's got me and I'm going to leave, you know? So instead of going to a seductive voice, bounce back to banter and give her more negative body language at that moment, and you'll have a better response from her right after that. So one way that I've done that is completely switching the moment, completely switching the sort of vibe or the feeling. Usually you're in rapport whenever that happens, and it's because you're in rapport too quickly. If you go into rapport too quickly, she'll start to lose interest. So you have to bounce back out, go into banter, bring other people into the interaction, attract other women as well in front of her. Not for the sole purpose of attracting her, but just so that everyone's attracted and you're bouncing back to the attraction phase again. Banter for a lot of women, and then turn back to her again, and then qualify her. If you do that, you'll get a much better response from her than if you try to just like say something, right? A lot of guys don't want to risk letting go of the interaction, so they sort of run away, and they're like, okay, it's all or nothing right now, I better go for it. But the truth is, it's not all or nothing right then. And if you go for it right then you're basically screwed. So, Scott says basically show her that you don't need her, and that's true. Yes, you want to show non-neediness with that response, but you also want to show that you enjoy the process of attracting women in the first place, right? So someone who's used to beautiful women being attracted to him, a guy that is used to that, which is one of the most powerfully attractive things about a woman. A guy that is used to women being attracted to him will automatically treat women as if he has lots of options, you know? And if you are chasing a woman whenever she's not interested, if you're like, what do I do? That's because you don't feel like you have a lot of options. So you don't want to feel that way, period. You know, it's not just about what do you do, but it's also you don't want to even think that way. You want to instead think, okay, well, we weren't in rapport anyway, or yet we shouldn't have been in rapport anyway yet, so let's bounce back out and have a good time. So my sort of motto was, you know, let's stop being serious, let's have a good time for a little bit. And then I snap out of it and I go back to like doing whatever it is that's fun, or hanging out, or going somewhere, bringing her over and introducing her to other people, you know, and really playing host for a while. One of the most powerful ways to build attraction in a loud environment is to be social ambassador, which basically allows you to connect groups. If you learn how to introduce one person to another person, which by the way will not put you at risk at all of being rejected. There's no rejection whenever you're introducing two people. They can be rejected, but you can't be, so it's a powerful ninja move. It's fucking ninja. So what I do is I introduce giant groups of people to each other. So I'll take one girl and I'll talk to her for a second, and then I'll turn around and I'll start talking to another girl and I'll go, hey, come meet my friends. And I just met this other group. And they come over and they start talking to each other, and now I've made this massive group of people, and I am the center of the entire group instead of being a straggler or whatever, like sort of on the outskirts. So now I am the social ambassador, the social leader of both of these groups at the same time, and I have all of the options of all the women within those groups. So whenever you snap out of that, sometimes you may want to introduce her to other people you don't even know. You know, and when you do that, don't just stand there like, okay, you two meet each other, great, and then look at them, you know, and let them talk. You want to start talking to other people, introducing them, you know, getting people going, and then once you get that sort of, it may seem like it's not going to work. It may seem like in your head you may be thinking, well, if I do that, then what if they're like, who the fuck is this guy? I don't know. They didn't even know you. Like all those things that I had in my head that I thought would happen, they didn't happen. People were just like, hey, nice to meet you. And I was like, all right, cool. You guys have so much in common. You're both awesome. And you both love prairie dogs. I don't know. I just make something up, you know. You know, earlier you were talking about 18th century Mongolian architecture. Well, she is an expert. You know, something I totally make it up off the top of my head. And that usually gets a lot of really fun banter-like conversation going at that moment. Social circle mastery is probably one of the most powerful ways to attract women in a social environment. It's extremely, extremely powerful. You can also get a raise at work. You can get a lot more friends, a whole lot more friends. You can get a lot of respect from people because of social circle mastery as well. And I will be doing another product at some point where I just talk about social circle mastery because it's a really, really powerful concept. Keep your eyes out for that if you are interested in that concept and that topic. I would love to do another webinar series actually on social circle mastery as well, but I'll have to offer that to you in a bit. If I do, it will have limited seating because I don't want a million dudes on that call. But anyway, so yeah, that's that. Anything else, Josh, that comes to mind at all? Or? Nothing comes to mind at all. The man is speechless now.
Blank slate.
Brad, anything you want to say? Well put, Brad.
One thing I was thinking about was that, to sort of get into the right mindset of the banter voice, you teach that, in an attraction, you're supposed to be childlike. You're supposed to be like a boy. And if you think of how children talk, it's very questioning.
Unless it's a very white child, baby. Hey, mama.
If you listen to
give me some milk.
Kids talk, they're always like, "What is this? What is this?"
Yeah. I would suggest you talk like you're on crack. Unless you're on crack, in which case talk like you're on crack. Hell, man, be congruent. What the hell? Yeah. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I completely agree. And during the early sort of stages of an interaction, your default has to be sort of very curious and very sort of childlike, not in a weak manner, but we're going back to hats again. Yeah, so good, Michael. You got this concept down. The concept of hats is such a powerful concept of putting on a different hat when you're interacting with different people. And again, yeah, you said getting back to hats. Your banter voice and your seduction voice are sort of in essence putting on your banter hat and your seduction hat, and that's absolutely true. And your sort of voice goes along with that personality, that hat. So I guess underlying all these concepts, I guess that concept of the hat is really a very powerful concept, and it sort of goes through. We go through that concept a lot during this course. Yeah, it's an extremely useful concept. So again, guys, if you have any more questions, I'm about to wrap this up. But yes. In the very beginning of an interaction, it is more childlike. It is more like kids being like, "What's that? What's this? Let's have fun. Okay, we're going over here." And if a kid drops the lollipop on the ground, they'll like freak out for a second, then they're like, "What's that?" And they're totally distracted.
A big one too. Just the other day, I was walking, and a couple of little kids were riding with their parents, and they were just like, "Hi." Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Walk into the bar and just be like, "Hey."
Hey. So this is really powerful, and I think a lot of guys don't do this because they just don't think about it. Though it's probably the most common way that I introduce myself to women is that I get eye contact and then I wave and smile. That's it. It's not complicated. It's not some line that I remember. Nothing. It's just, and I wave kind of silly, like really exaggerated, like Forrest Gump wave. Like, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, I like cheese." No, but really like just wave kind of silly and smile. And it's such an inviting thing for women that whenever you approach after that, there's all of their sort of defenses are totally down at that point because you're having a lot of fun. And they know that you're not going to come over and be a downer and things like that. There's all these things running in women's minds all the time, wondering if they're constantly weighing the risk of talking to you versus the risk that they might talk to you and like you. So that's like a very low percentage, that chance. Versus the risk that they are going to talk to you and not like you, and then you're going to be sticking around being a weirdo for hours, and that risk is very high. So women have these sort of rules that they follow, that they think in their heads. It's all subconscious, of course, where they see you being sort of skipping the stages in the map of interaction, then they're automatically turned off because they think that you're going to be weird and stay there being weird around them. So what you want to do is disarm them in the beginning and then come in sort of under the radar, sort of really fun and happy. And again, the best way to do this is just to put on your hat, change your persona at that moment. Not try to attack and go for what you want all the time. Now, at some points, and especially if I talk about the seduction process here, and I go really into depth in the seduction process and the system, then you can skip steps, you can be powerful as a man, you can go in and get what you want, but I almost never start out in that stage because it almost never works. I'm a very big believer that you do what works and not what doesn't, just period. It may sound kind of silly, but a lot of guys do what they think makes them more attractive, not what works. I'm going to implore you to just do what works and not what makes you feel like you're more attractive. Because what you think, let's just put it this way. If you knew what was attractive in a man, you'd be gay. That's just kind of how it is. And if you're gay, you probably wouldn't be on this call. I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody, Franklin. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking, Franklin. I'm going to get bitch slapped for that one later. But in a nice way, though, not gay way. But yeah, so it's I would just give up the idea that you think you know what is attractive as a man and that you can point to, he says, hey, what does a gay horse eat? Hey, hey. You know what 3 gay horses eat? Hey, hey, hey. Anyway, so that's my joke for the day. I got another one from Michael here saying that the other day was walking down using dominant body language, using the sort of walk that I talked about in that course, and he fell on his ass in front of 2 women, and they laughed. So not in a mocking tone, but in like an, oh my God, are you all right? It was priceless. So I've fallen trying to walk too. I've talked about the way that, I mean, it's a very powerful way to walk, but you got to get used to it. And I warned that you guys may fall down when you do this. It's sort of like learning how to walk all over again. But yeah, Michael said he hit a point there where he fell over, and it's funny because whenever you do that, you realize people aren't mocking you. Like they don't mock you anymore. It's like we have this thought in our heads that like in middle school or elementary school, you fall down, people are going to point and laugh, but they just don't do that anymore. And so we still have that thought, but we try to avoid it with like the plague, but it just doesn't happen. So it's completely unrealistic. So yeah, guys, if you have anything else you want to run by me, you can comment below this video, so you can replay it as many times as you want to as well. And I will try to do a video response to that and try to get something back to you, and everyone will be able to see it. So everyone can benefit from your questions. I hope you gained a lot from this course. I got one last question. You snuck in, Philip. I'm gonna go ahead and get it now. So it says, how do you combine powerful body language with open, fun demeanor? Okay, so dominant body language and powerful body language and sort of banter and verbal language are completely separate, and they should be separated in your mind. To be a powerful man does not mean that you have a seductive voice. It means that you have dominant body language. So you can use your powerful body language as far as keeping your shoulders back and down, keeping your head up, keeping your eyes centered, also keeping your feet about shoulder width apart at most times and not taking up less space than you need to, and also walking in a powerfully dominant way that I go over during the dominant body language section. You can have that body language while still building banter. And a lot of guys don't associate that. They try to, when they put that hat on, they switch over to the seduction voice immediately, and they try to be serious and try to go to rapport or seduction. And don't do that. I want you to just like a little kid, where a little kid learns how to point his finger instead of point his whole hand to get something. I want you to have that body language acute awareness of being able to separate dominant body language and negative body language, and be able to use them both at the same time. And that's sort of the skill that will allow you to sort of step it up and really be extremely powerful as a man. And so I got, you sort of elaborate here. It says, if you're at a party where you don't know anyone, how would you approach groups? Both with body language, both with vocal tone. Well, approaching a group, you have to approach with a level of energy just higher than the group. So you have to gauge the group, and I'm not going to get into too much detail here because I'm talking a mile a minute here actually. But whenever you approach a group that you see sort of from afar, you want to approach, like, if you had a scale of 1 to 10 of how energetic they are, you want to approach at one number above. That's it. Not like 5 numbers above. So if they're like on a scale of 1 to 10, they're like kind of chill. They're like a 4, which is less in my scale for some reason, the more chill side. Then you're going to approach at a 5, like just chill but a little bit more happy and a little more energetic. And that'll sort of help you sort of put on that hat. And again, Philip, if you want to go back and watch some of the other videos in this body language mastery course, I would suggest you do that, especially the one on psychological space and dominant body language and negative body language as well. So when you approach, the negative body language course is going to help you the most. So check that out and watch it, because that will answer this question perfectly. but you're asking for a specific question about a specific instance about you being at a party and approaching people at a party. So usually parties are, everyone has a mutual friend or a mutual rapport point or sort of a host of the party, and the host has a lot of value. So, and what does the host do? The host checks to make sure everybody's okay. Find the host first, make friends with them, and then, and by the way, you make friends with them just by being like, hey man, this is a really cool party. This is really awesome. Thanks for having me over. Is there anything I can do to help? Like maybe help make sure this shit goes down right or help you clean up or anything? And just offer your help at first. And they'll go, oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. And then, okay, good. And then after that point happens and you meet the host and you're friends with them, then you're allowed to go around and sort of play host at a sort of lower level than they are. So sort of come up and go, hey guys, are you having a good time? Is there anything I can get you? You know? And you're sort of playing the host, and all of a sudden, everyone looks at you like you are the person who holds all the value in the interaction. So, and that's like, you know, and if they ask you, so is this your place? You go, oh no, it's not my place. And then they'll all laugh because it seems like you're acting like the host. I've done this tons of times. And it works very, very, very well. So I would highly suggest you check that out and go through that process as well. So go ahead and check that out as well, Philip, and go back and watch every single one of these because they're all very powerful. Take notes. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will obviously be able to communicate on that. I have the link is going to be in your members area, so when you log in, you should be able to have the links to these different courses. And I will be offering, and guys, you can answer this now. How many guys here would be interested if I did another course very similar to this webinar training course, maybe where I actually had a video of me talking on social circle mastery? If you're interested in that, let me know. You can go ahead and post it up right here or raise your hand or something so I can see that, so I can tell if you'd be interested in that sort of thing. Cool, so I got some people interested in that. That's good. We got quite a few people. So cool. Well, you know, I think that it would be a really powerful thing to do, and I'm going to plan on doing that. I'm going to take a couple weeks off here because I've been talking every week and my voice is hurting, and I have to really prepare for it, especially if it's going to be something that's going to be very, very in depth. But I will offer that to you guys first if you do want to jump on board for that. Like I said, this course is I'm not sure how many people from this group got in through a special deal or not, but this course here is $1,700. Since you guys are already, since you've already bought and you're already like a customer and you're already sort of paying very close attention, it's not going to cost you but a fraction of that if I do one. So I'll give you a very, very special deal on it, and it'll be very reasonable. And I'm very interested and willing to work with you guys on it. So if there's anything I can do at all, anything you want to see in there, shoot me a message. Let me know. I'm very open to creating programs for you guys. You're my boys. You're my people. So I want to make sure that I take care of you as well as I can, and get you the information as well as possible as well. And if I can sort of roll up a few things into one, like maybe a product on social circle mastery, a product on seduction mastery, and then maybe a product on something else. I'm not sure what else I'd do it on. If you have any suggestions, go and let me know. But I may be able to just throw a package deal together so you guys can grab that and jump on board. And my webinar coaching courses are, I'll let you guys have a really great deal. Don't tell anybody you got a good deal on it though, because I don't want anybody to know who's paying full price, obviously, for that. So I don't want them to feel like they're getting ripped off because they haven't bought first, or they're not friends of mine like you guys are. So go ahead and check that out. It's been awesome, guys. Thank you very much for being here and seeing this, and it's been a great 6 weeks. I'm happy to give you a bonus here, and if I decide to do a surprise webinar in the future, I'll just look out in your email and jump on board and grab a seat in one. We are, if you haven't seen already, but we are unveiling a new members area very, very soon. So keep your eye out for that. We have a lot of new things in the members area. It's going to be rad. I'm very, very, very excited about it. Thank you guys very much for being here and participating. Thanks to Brad and Josh as well for swinging by today and sort of helping me out by sitting here and watching me, which is what they did. I'm very, very comfortable with talking to you guys and helping you as much as possible. So any suggestions you have, anything that you can do to help me help you, please shoot me an email. Let me know if you have like a website or something you want to post and tell people about the Dial of Badass and get them in this process, or you have any friends that you want to bring into the members area as sort of free members. They can actually ask questions and stuff, and they can post blogs and talk to you and stuff, but they won't be able to get access to the products yet. But we're going to be doing a lot of stuff here. I want to actually make it so that the more you participate and the more things you do, and the more fun you have, and the more things you post, and the more things you share, that you can actually earn points, and then you can you can earn points and you can earn dollars that you can gift people products, so they can actually get a gift from you, and that gift might be a $1,700 product that they'd have to pay for otherwise, and you can give it to them as a gift just for like helping out. So I really wanted to make this, I mean, we're all a team here, and we're all part of a movement, and that is sort of teaching us to be powerful men and taking responsibility for our manhood, taking responsibility for our attraction. And I want to be very straightforward about that, and I want you guys to know that that is something that I want to build up. I want to keep it going. I have someone's raising their hand, Johannes, I guess, or Johannes. I'm not sure how to say your name. Do you want me to unmute you? If you do, if you don't, then write something immediately, because I'm going to unmute you otherwise, and I'm going to talk to you. So you have 5 seconds to tell me not to. Okay, you disappeared. So I guess you don't want to talk. No big deal. Cool, guys. Well, it's been great. Thanks again. Thanks for everything, and I will see you guys on the other side here. Get a hold of me in the members area. Find me on Facebook. Friend me on there, and let's get this shit happening. Let's make this movement happen, man. And I'm very proud to be part of this with you guys. So I'll talk to you very soon. Take care, and have a good one.